Well, Republicans on the U.S. House Intelligence Committee have ended their year-long investigation on Russia. The man leading that investigation, Mike Conaway, says, "We found no evidence of any collusion of anything people were actually doing other than taking a meeting they shouldn't have taken or just inadvertently being in the same building."
All just one great, big, incredible series of coincidences. President Trump followed that with an all-caps tweet. It was rare. The Intelligence Committee has, after a 14-month-long in-depth investigation, found no evidence of collusion or coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. Michael Genovese is president of the Global Policy Institute at Loyola Marymount University, and Peter Mathews is a professor of political science at Cypress College. Good to see you guys once again. Okay, so here is the reaction over the last couple of hours from the Russian embassy to this finding by the House Intelligence Committee, which was led by the Republicans, basically quoting that statement from Mike Conaway, where he described all of this as just a series of coincidences, and Russian involvement is a fantasy like a Tom Clancy novel. But Peter, you know, to say this was all just a series of coincidences and that there is nothing to see here, it's almost like they didn't even try to make this report believable, because there is so much which proves that there is something there that we just don't quite know what it is.
And they ignored the Democratic side completely. Instead of coming out with a combined report after negotiating and working things out, they completely just only come up with their point, the Republican House Intelligence Committee's point of view, and that's supposed to be the whole committee. And then Russia seizes on this and says, this is the American government saying we're scot-free, we didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's the point. It's amazing. This is the Republican view, it's not the view from the U.S. government. Democrats, no surprise, they're saying this is all just a sham. Here's Adam Schiff.
The Republicans have said for some time they're under immense pressure to shut down the investigation. And it was apparent really from the very beginning, from last March when our chairman went on that midnight run to the White House, that their real object was protecting the president. It wasn't doing a credible investigation.
So, Michael, how much damage has been done to the House Intelligence Committee as opposed to the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is also doing an investigation here? Because these intelligence committees have always been seen as this bastion of bipartisanship.
And that's the problem, because there was a tradition of bipartisanship. And it wasn't that long ago, and this is not long ago and far away fantasy, but foreign policy was different. That partisanship used to not literally end at the shores of America, but there was this understanding that it was different and that both parties had to get together to help national security. You saw it during the Truman administration. You saw it later. And you saw it throughout really the modern era up until the last couple of presidencies. And I think right now politics is so tribal and it's so narrow in terms of the focus that they don't even bother worrying about the truth. The rule is the 20-step rule in telling the truth. A lie has to be 1, 2, or 3 steps away from the truth to make it believable. But when you're 20 steps away, no one's going to believe it. And that's where we are today. We're 27 steps away from the truth on this phony report. It's all a fig leaf for the president.
It seems that they didn't just go 20 steps away from the truth. They probably went about 200 steps away, because they've taken it even further, disagreeing with the assessment from the intelligence community that Russia was actually trying to help Trump get elected. They say there's no evidence of that. Here's what the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, told Wolf Blitzer.
No, I don't agree. I think their objectives evolved over time, and certainly to start with, they were interested in sowing as much doubt and discord as they possibly could. And because of starting with personal animus that President Putin had for Hillary Clinton, they wanted to do everything they could to hurt her. Then when things got serious with then candidate Trump, particularly when he became the nominee, they were attracted to him because they thought that he would be much better for them.
And, you know, Peter, that sounds like a very reasonable explanation, which is coming from someone who should know, or at least have a very good idea of what happened. Is it possible that the Republicans put this line in about, you know, the Russians not helping Trump get elected simply to help, because that's what the president wants to hear?
Well, definitely, because they want to support that president. He's given them a lot of rewards, the tax cuts, for example, and everything else, the lack of gun control legislation. It's exactly what they want. He's giving it to them, so they're giving him something to protect him, basically. And this is just not right for democracy. See, there's process and there's policy. Policy you can differ on. You should in democracy have difference of opinion, different approaches to how to solve problems. But then when it comes to process, there has to be agreement on how do we accomplish, you know, the investigations in a bipartisan way to get the truth. Is part of the process of democratic activity. It has to go in the right direction together.
Well, part of the process here, the Republicans called time on this investigation without interviewing at least 3 key witnesses. Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chair, Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor, and former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, who's helping Mueller with his inquiry into Russia. All of them have been indicted by the special counsel. According to some of these reports, the Republicans didn't even use subpoenas to gather information. So with all that in mind, listen to Congressman Chris Stewart, a Republican, earlier on CNN.
It's very clear, and by the way, it's not just this committee that's drawn that conclusion. As Manu just said, this senior Democrat or Republican on the Senate side says the same thing. So does Dianne Feinstein, the senior Democrat on the Senate committee. So did Director Clapper. I mean, I would invite anyone, tell me the strongest piece of evidence that you have that supports the theory of collusion. Because, Anderson, there just isn't, and we've been looking at this for going on 15 months now.
So I guess my question is, what gets the headline here? What gets the attention of American voters? Is it that statement from the congressman, no collusion here, nothing to see, or the nuanced part that witnesses weren't called, subpoenas weren't used? This goes way out over what the national intelligence community's been saying.
And June 9th never occurred.
Yeah.
June 9th, 2016, when you had Don Jr., Manafort, Kushner in a meeting at Trump Tower, instigated by the Russians, who said, we've got dirt on Hillary. This is a gift from our government to your father's campaign.
And Don Jr. saying, I love it.
I love it. Now, maybe that's not collusion, but if we live in a bizarre world, that's true. But the fact that the Russians, the Republicans are parroting the Russian version is shocking to me. That's a big step to take just for the loyalty to Donald Trump. And Trump has, as you said, given them a lot. He's given them Supreme Court justices. He's given them the tax cut. And there's more that they want. But that's a high price to pay.
Apparently they found no link to cancer and smoking as well. Let's move on to the other scandal with the White House. The White House says there's nothing to this story. Others say it just keeps getting worse. Stormy Daniels and the $130,000 worth of hush money. Listen to what the lawyer for Daniels said to CNN earlier today.
Their theory is it's always been about the money. Your pushback?
Well, it hasn't been about the money. And in fact, had she wanted to sell her story to the highest bidder, she could have obtained far more than $130,000.
Peter, he didn't really explain what it was about for Daniels, but what do you think her motivation is? I mean, is it to make a lot more money, or is there more to this?
I think there's a bit more to it. She wants to be someone who tells the truth about what's going on, what happened that could actually affect the presidential system, the president himself. And also, she could probably make some more money and a better deal after that, a movie or a book or whatever else.
Yeah.
So there's probably a dual motivation there. But nevertheless, there's something that's very serious right now. It's getting more serious as we go along.
Yeah, it is. I just want to finish on the White House releasing its school safety plan after the shooting in Florida on Valentine's Day last month. If you remember a week ago, President Trump was talking tough about facing down the NRA, and he specifically mentioned raising the legal age limit of buying an AR-15 style weapon from 18 to 21. That's what he told that meeting of lawmakers.
They have great power over you people. They have less power over me. I don't need it. Some of you people are petrified of the NRA. You can't be petrified. They want to do what's right, and they're going to do what's right. I really believe that.
Okay, the White House plan is out. There's nothing about raising the age limit from 18 to 21. There's everything in there that the NRA wanted, arming teachers and that kind of stuff, which might explain, what happened between then and now. Is this tweet that the president put out last week. Good, bracket, great, close bracket, meeting in the Oval Office tonight with the NRA, and that was with the senior lobbyist for the NRA. So, Peter, did the NRA get to Donald Trump?
Absolutely. $30 million worth of getting to him, and they spent that money on his own election, and not to mention the money on Congress, $55 million. That's a lot of money to go around. And they have so much clout because they also are funded by the arms production agencies, the ones that produce the weapons, the guns,
Michael,
armaments. That's the problem.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Last word to Michael.
Well, and I also think that, and you've said this before, that Donald Trump is a day trader, and he wants a victory at the end of the day. And so what he said at that meeting, the clip that you showed, sounded great. He's going to take over. He's going to get something done. And then the next day, it's, wait a minute, I said what?
Yeah.
And the NRA says no, and he says, well, I guess, okay, the answer is no. Yeah. So a lot of it is who he talks to last, and a lot of it is who represents the best financial interest to the Republican Party. I don't want to say that the Republican Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of the NRA or vice versa, but Donald Trump caved into them.
Yep. And the NRA does not represent the vast majority of Americans.
No.
But but they do have a lot of sway. Michael and Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you.